Howie Roseman didn't make any trades on day one of the NFL draft. He made up for it on day two.
Yeah, he can't go 2 days without making trades. So you knew it was going to happen. It was just a matter of where and when and why. It was a very active day for Howie on Friday.
Yeah, it was an exciting day, a day that started off, and you kind of felt like the way the first round went and the fact that they were able to get Quinyon Mitchell at 22, you thought, okay, this is going to be a little bit wild of a day two.
Yeah, and I think we've been both saying since this whole thing started, they're not going to pick at 50 and 53. In fact, we were doing one of the shows this week, earlier in the week, and we had a big board up and like, all right, here's their picks. Here's their second round picks, 50 and 53. I said, they're not making those picks. Like, why are we even talking about them? They're not picking there. I thought they might pick at one of those spots, but Howie can't help himself. And I mean, he said this, we're not making trades just to make trades. There's a purpose for them. There's a reason we're going up or going down. They associate certain players with a certain value, and it's a bad pick at one spot and it becomes a good pick at another spot because you're getting something else in return by trading down. So it was an interesting day. It was one of those days where you don't want to like walk to your car because you're afraid you're going to miss something if you just leave the media room for 5 minutes. It was an interesting day.
It was a good day. A lot to talk about. This is the Eagle Eye podcast presented by Nissan. Reuben, Frank, Dave, Zangaro. Let's start off with the move at the beginning of round two. The first few picks come off the board, and a big clump of cornerbacks have not yet started to come off. Howie jumps up. He gets to pick number 40 and takes Cooper DeJean from Iowa, who a few days ago we thought was one of the most likely candidates to be their pick at 22.
Yeah, I mean, they got two cornerbacks much later than they were projected. And, look, not surprised they got one of them that way, but to get two of them that way is really interesting. And I like going out and getting two cornerbacks, and certainly they need them. Some, people are tweeting like, well, they have Keely Ringo and they have Isaiah Rodgers and they have Eli Ricks. You have a chance to get these elite kind of guys. And it's nothing against Keely Ringo and Eli Ricks. I think, they played well at times last year and they might have a really bright future. But we saw, I think when people ask like what went wrong last year, the collapse, you look at pass defense. I mean, it was right at the top of that list. And they've since added CJ, Isaiah Rodgers, and Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell. So they've added a lot to the pass defense, to the secondary, and they had to. I mean, they had to. They had to do it. And you bring these guys in, you let them compete, and I still think Slay's got a good year or two of good football left in him, at least a year. But at some point, these guys are going to be starting. They're hoping they're going to be your two starting cornerbacks. And how he put it, how did he put it? Like, I learned from, I think he said, I learned from Andy Reid. You're always thinking a year ahead. And I like that. I like that the way he put it. It's not just about what do we need now. It's about what are we going to need in 2025 and 2026. And even if James Bradbury had a great year last year, you're going to need two corners.
Yeah, and I think it was notable that the Eagles did not announce Cooper DeJean as a cornerback. They announced him as a defensive back. And, that's something we've kind of heard throughout this pre-draft process. And some people kind of frame it as a negative, like maybe his hips are too stiff to play a boundary corner position. Maybe he's not really best suited for that. But the flip side of that is, well, he's really versatile. He can play on the outside. He can play inside as a nickel. He can be a free safety. He can play in the box. He can do all these different things. So I think it takes, if you're going to bank on a player's versatility like that, I think you have to be in lockstep with the defensive coordinator, with the defensive backs coach, and really have a plan for how you're going to use this player.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. And I mean, yeah, there's a school of thought that he's a safety.
And he might be.
He might be.
I think they're going to try. So it's very funny that a day ago they drafted Quinyon Mitchell, and Howie's talking about how important it is that the rookie comes in and learns one position. He's an outside corner. You don't want to overload him. And they draft Cooper DeJean the next day, and they go, he's really versatile. We're gonna get the most out of him. I think.
And he also said, every player's different, and I think with Cooper DeJean, it's not a matter of let's teach him every position. It's a matter of like where will he best fit in.
Sure, and like that could also be dictated by the needs of the team. Yeah, like, hey, we need in this game, in this matchup, we need you to be a nickel. Like maybe there's a player who you match up better against, or we need you to play safety. There's an injury. Like I think that there is value in that. Now, I also think there's a reason he wasn't a first round pick, right? Like obviously one of the big reasons was there was a run on offense and everyone got pushed down. But, I think there were some concerns that, if he's not going to be a high level outside cornerback, is he worth that high of a pick? It's a fair question. I think it's probably a question the Eagles ask themselves.
Sure.
But ultimately, I think the value there was tremendous.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't know if we gave the terms of the trade. They went from 50 to 40, moved up 10 spots. I'll never forget when Sean Considine was a rookie and Jim Johnson threw everything at him from day one. Free safety, strong safety, slot. And I remember asking Jim about, isn't that a lot for a rookie? He's like, oh no, he's a smart kid.
Yeah, it really depends.
Where did Sean Considine go to college? Iowa.
Yeah.
That just struck me. But but it is funny how it all played out. But and then there'll be critics who say, if somebody who you don't know what their position is, maybe he doesn't have a position, and that's a risk you take with a guy, with a guy like this.
Yeah, but for now, I think they're looking at the versatility as a plus.
Yeah,
and it even though I don't think they drafted him because he's a good returner, I think that plays a role. And even Nick Sirianni said he'll be in the mix for these new kickoffs. Like he's been really good with the ball in his hands, whether it's grabbing an interception and running it back or fielding a return. Like he's good, he's fast, he's quick, he has good vision. So it's another bonus of something he can do for the team.
Yeah, I mean he's a really smart kid. He's instinctive. They kept talking about how much he loves. I mean, like he's got a one-track mind. I think Howie said he just all he talked about when he was here for his visit was football, ball. They don't say football; they say ball. He loves ball.
That's what the real guys do, ball players.
Yeah.
It did start a little run on cornerbacks as when Cooper DeJean, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Kamari Lassiter, Max Melton all in a row there in
Max
the 40s.
Melton from Cedar Creek High School, South Jersey. Just saying.
Yeah. His track numbers.
I didn't say anything about his track numbers. All right.
Yet.
You're the one bringing it up. But at the Woodbury Relays in 2019. No. Yeah.
So the trade, to recap the trade, it was pick 50, 53, and 161, which is a 5th round pick, for 40, 78, which was a 3rd round pick that they never made. And then pick 152, which is also in the 5th round. So a little pick swap in the 5th round. They got a 3rd back for giving up basically a 2nd. So basically like the old Jimmy Johnson draft value chart, which Howie kind of made fun of.
Yeah.
And it was tells you that's not what they're using. It was basically like the value of a mid 4th round pick to make that trade up. And then eventually he makes all these other trades that we'll talk about, and he kind of recouped a lot of that value.
Yeah. And this is something Howie's really good at. I mean,
and I saw something, I don't know if I can find it now, but it was basically like the more modern versions, the analytical versions of the draft chart actually had them gaining value by the end of the day.
Yeah, I believe it.
But I guess that also depends on the nature of that individual draft class and its strengths and weaknesses.
Sure.
So it's a general guideline, but I don't think they're too concerned about winning the points. It's just a basic general guideline, and it kind of lets us know, like, if you're going to go up and get a quarterback, you throw that any chart in the garbage and you just worry about getting him. But
Yeah.
for some other positions, I think it's kind of helpful.
It's interesting, but it's certainly not the final word.
We got to talk to Cooper DeJean a little bit.
We did. He was in. Very serious kid.
Well, it was a Zoom.
Oh yeah, I'm thinking of Quinyon, but yeah, we did talk to him, to both of them, one in person and one on Zoom.
We're tired, huh?
It's a long day.
This is it's so funny. It was after today's round. I looked at Howie. I was like, "Do you get some sleep during this?" He does. I don't know if we do. I'm a little punch drunk right now.
Yeah, I got my 3 hours last night. But yeah, we talked to Cooper on a Zoom call. Yeah, he was good. It was a good conversation. I thought he's interesting kid.
Yeah, a lot of the chatter with him was about the versatility and how he views it. Because, and I even asked him, I was, some people look at it as kind of a negative, like, how do you view it? And he said he actually talked to the Eagles about playing all three positions. So, it's not just like it's us. Like, we're not just talking heads talking about his versatility. Like, that's something the team has talked to him about. They had him in for a visit. All three players they've drafted so far, they had in for a 30 visit. So, it's not always super telling. And sometimes they'll even try to hide a guy by not bringing him in. But they put stock and they really want to meet these prospects. So, when you see the trackers, we do a tracker each year of when these visits are reported. It's something to pay attention to.
Yeah, Howie. One of the things Howie said today or tonight was he likes to see how they respond to the environment, to being in the building. I thought that was interesting. It's not all about measurables and recall on the whiteboard. It's how do you assimilate yourself into this unknown situation. Could be an overwhelming situation. How do you respond? How are you with people in the building? That stuff means a lot to them. You learn a lot by having the guy with you in person.
Sure. And we kind of make fun of Nick for the competitive things, but I think there is something to that. He wants competitive people. And I think that shows in a lot of ways. I always joke that the Sirianni house had to be a nightmare to be around because they're like racing to see who can answer the door first.
Yeah.
And that, like, in normal life, that's awful. That's really annoying. But in football, I think it is helpful.
Yeah, I'll bet there was a lot of Scrabble boards thrown at the wall in that household.
I bet, like, when they're still finding like Monopoly pieces all over the house.
Yeah. That Park Place card is still missing.
Yeah, a thimble in the couch. A few other things from Cooper DeJean. He said he's fully healthy. If there was a game today, he'd be able to play in it. He had a fractured fibula. Fibula. Thank you. I was like, that doesn't sound right. Fibula.
It's tibia.
Yeah, fibula. In November, so he wasn't able to do a lot of the pre-draft stuff. He ended up not even doing the Iowa Pro Day. He had a private workout, and he was great, and he's really athletic. But good news there, he's totally healthy, ready to play. I also liked that he was annoyed and frustrated that he didn't go in the first round.
Yeah,
I want that.
Yeah. He tried to. He was like, yeah, it was a little frustrating, but I'm where I belong now. But yeah, it bothered him.
Yeah, and like I think, and I think it bothered Quinyon a little bit yesterday too.
Oh, I think no doubt.
And like both can be true. They can be happy they landed in what they think is a good situation, but also feel a little disrespected by it. And with Cooper DeJean, I think that kind of goes back to his like recruitment into college. Didn't have a lot of buzz around him. Ended up going to Iowa, good school, good football school, had a good career, but I think that stuck with him a little bit.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And I liked how like every question came back to the same thing. Like, what position do you want to play? Where are you best? He's like, I just want to get on the field. I just want to play. What's the pre-draft process been like? I just want to get it behind me. I've had enough of it. I just want to play. Like everything just led to
they have a lot of players now that are like movable pieces in this defense. You have like Cooper DeJean, obviously CJ Gardner-Johnson. We know his versatility. Avonte Maddox, if he's around.
Sidney Brown
is another one. Yeah, they have a lot of these guys that you can kind of plug in. Isaiah Rodgers, I think, has the ability to play inside and out. Like you have all these different pieces that I don't know exactly how the puzzle is going to fit together, but I think there are different options.
Nakobe can play a couple spots.
He better be able to play the weak side.
I don't know if he can play. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's certainly a Fangio. What's the word? Criterion.
Okay.
Is a
Singular. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I think that makes things a little more complicated. A lot of moving parts, but it can also make a defense more dangerous.
Yeah. And we haven't talked about a lot of the new coaching staff since they got put in there, but Christian Parker is going to be a big part of this. He's the new defensive backs coach. There's league circles kind of think that they're renting him. Like he's going to be a defensive coordinator at some point. I've heard nothing but good things about him. So kind of curious to see what he does, because they're giving him a lot of talent.
Yeah.
I mean, he's getting here on day one, and man, here's Quinyon Mitchell and here's Cooper DeJean. Oh yeah, we got CJ Gardner-Johnson in the mix. Like he's got a lot of talent.
Rodgers. Yeah. I mean, it was, I'm really curious to see how that goes. I mean, this pass defense was so bad. I think statistically it was the third worst pass defense in Eagles history. When you think about how bad some of those teams were in like 2020 and 2012 and 98. And I mean, just throughout the 50s and, 70s. I mean, it's just to have that bad a pass defense. They took it seriously. They certainly have addressed what Howie admitted was a major need.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you throw Rodgers in there as well, and and then Keeley and Ricks are young guys. I mean, who didn't really play, and Sidney. I mean, none of those guys really played a full season. So I don't know when we'll see Sidney, but I mean that's right there is 7 D-backs who weren't playing early in the year or weren't here, who were in the mix.
Yeah, it feels like they just like took a bunch of darts and threw them, and some of them are going to stick, and they're going to be better because of it.
They very well should be.
The last thing from Cooper DeJean, I asked him if he got to know Quinyon Mitchell through the pre-draft process, and he said not like great, they're not best friends, but he actually texted Quinyon after getting drafted to congratulate him, and then I don't think at that point anyone thought that they were going to be teammates.
Yeah, no, I thought that was a cool little nugget.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. He had a disappointing day.
Says a lot about him.
Yeah, I thought that's how it struck me.
Yeah.
Like he had a disappointing day. He got not snubbed. He didn't get drafted in the first round. Quinyon Mitchell, who's a guy he doesn't really know that well. They cross paths.
Yeah, and they they were at the combine together, but DeJean didn't do any of the physical stuff there.
Yeah.
So he's around him. He's in the group. But...
Yeah. So for him to text to reach out and congratulate him, I thought that was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. How about the next pick? Excuse me. How about the next pick? So first off, Howie didn't come into the day with a 3rd round pick, but he trades the 2 seconds to move up to 40, and he gets a 3rd round back at 78 overall. We're getting ready. Oh boy, here we go.
Yeah.
Eagles are about to make a pick. Nope. They trade number 78. They get back 86 and 123. 123 is in the 4th round. All right. Not that far. We're pushing it back a little bit.
There.
86. Here we go, baby.
Here
about
comes
to make
84,
a pick.
85.
On the clock. Nope. Traded away again. You go from 86 to 94. They get pick 132. Also in the 4th round. Tells you where Howie feels there's some extra value in this draft. He adds 2 4th round picks, and it kind of recoups the value of the initial trade, getting back those 2 4th rounders. So, and then eventually
that's Howie ball right there. That is Spalding guide Howie ball.
Now we can look at the players that were drafted between 78 and 94, a pretty big difference there. And some players that, hey, like we probably know more about. Players that to me would have been good picks. I wonder when they were on the clock at 86, Zach Zinter from Michigan went at 85. I wonder if he wasn't a target, and then he got picked and they said, all right, that's the end of that. Let's move back again. But, you look from 78 to 94, like I'll just go through some of the names like Jermaine Burton, Christian Haynes, Tip Raymond, Roman Wilson, Zach Zinter, Marshawn Lloyd, like some Jalen McMillan from Washington. Adisa Isaac went one pick before them, another edge player who we thought might be in the mix. So the Eagles tell you they wanted Jalyx Hunt, who they get out of Houston Christian University, but
formerly Houston Baptist.
But, I mean, there's a good chance that they thought one of those other guys was going to be an Eagle.
Yeah, and we'll never know unless we get Howie drunk at some Super Bowl party or something. But, Jalyx is a guy who, and he's an edge. He's a guy who, what a story. What a strange story.
Mm-hmm.
He started out at Cornell as a 190-pound safety.
195.
He said 190 in an interview, but
okay.
it could have been 195. But in any case, he said he grew late, late growth, and
I'm still waiting for my growth spurt.
He's just kept
any day now.
But he actually played 3 years at Cornell, I believe it was 3 years. Only started one game.
Well, he was there 3 years, the pandemic year.
Yeah, and the Ivy didn't play during that year. Yeah, I think the Ivy didn't play the next year. I think, but anyway, he transfers to this small school in Houston. They play in the Southland Conference. Houston
FCS program.
Yeah. What a transfer, Cornell to Houston. I'll bet there's nobody else in history has ever transferred from that school to the other school, Houston Christian. And Howie said they were on him in the summer. We kind of thought, maybe you discovered him at the Senior Bowl. He had a really big Senior Bowl. A guy like that at a program like that, he better. Howie's like, no, we knew about him. Our scouts were on him. And then he explained the whole process for like 10 minutes of, when the scouts file their reports and everything, but they were on him early and they liked him. What did he say? Freakish traits.
Yeah. I mean, he is super athletic, 6'4", 252. You look at the spider chart, he fills it up. I mean, super athletic, ran a 4.64, had a vert of 37.5, a broad of 10.8. Like, yeah. I mean, like big time numbers.
10.8's a big number.
Yeah. His wingspan's 82 3/4. I mean, yeah, he fills out all those athletic attributes, and from a frame standpoint, he has all of it.
Yeah,
just super raw.
Yeah,
and like I think that's obviously the risk in a pick like this.
Sure.
The first guy I thought of, late 3rd round pick, you're drafting for traits, Davion Taylor.
Yeah,
who it was a swing and it was a miss, and now the difference is Jalyx Hunt plays a position that you do rotate more, whereas like Davion's a linebacker who probably wasn't going to see time. So I think there's at least an avenue to maybe get Hunt involved.
But I also think, I don't know if he'll be a player or not, but physically, like Davion never had the build of he didn't have the build of, he was athletic, but he didn't have the build of an elite off-ball linebacker.
I think he did.
He was a little short.
It was long though.
Yeah, but this kid is. I was just reading. The people at the Super Bowl said at the Senior Bowl said he really fit in. Like if you didn't know his background,
was 6'1".
Was he really?
Still is, I'm sure.
All right. Well, that's my bad. But
yeah.
This guy looks like he looks the part. And at the Senior Bowl, he went up against some really good guys, and apparently, the quote was, and my computer is freaking out on me, so I can't even tell you what story he was in, but he looked like all the BCS guys and practiced like them. But yeah, it's a risky move. It's a guy that, and like I think we were walking down to the presser, and I was like, you can probably get this guy in the 4th round. And then Howie said, he started showing up on different lists, and he said we saw his name on a lot of mock drafts. Well, I'm not sure you should be drafting like a guy because you saw him on mock drafts. But then he said Daniel Jeremiah had him as his on his board of the best remaining guys. He's like, he's the number 3 guy. Like, we're going to lose him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he spoke really strongly about him. He talked for quite a while about the kid. It's it's not a high percentage pick. It just isn't.
Yeah. And look, I think because of that, like I look at some of the names that were there,
Yeah.
Some of those players and maybe that's just,
but there's no luck. They'll be good.
Sure.
Either.
And I think a lot of that is biased because we've seen more of them. We've seen them play at big time programs.
Yeah.
We're more familiar with them. I understand the big swing. Now I remember because I already compared him to DeJean. I remember when they drafted DeJean Taylor, one of my questions to Howie, and I think he took offense to it a little bit, was, and I'm paraphrasing myself, but like, if you're not gonna get, if he can't play within the next few years, like, are you wasting part of the pick because you only have 4 years on a rookie contract? Are you going to be able to maximize the player if he's not ready until year 3 or 4 of that?
Yeah. And
how he kind of poo-pooed it, but like, I think that's a legitimate fear with a player that's this raw.
No, that's definitely fair. And they even said, like, we got a good room. He doesn't have to play right away. I mean, they're already redshirting the kid.
Yeah. Someone's got to play.
But it
is a good situation for him though, because he's not going to have a lot of pressure on him. The pressure's on Nolan Smith and Bryce Huff more than anyone, but they have 4 guys ahead of them at least.
Yeah, and then BG retires, and you hope maybe he can, unless he just changes his mind again. BG, we got some TV time.
Yeah, how about that? He did good.
He did.
Yeah,
he got a little Dallas Sucks chant going.
It's funny.
Little Eagles.
That's be a cool moment for him.
Yeah.
Before his final season in the NFL, the draft's in his hometown. He gets to go there and do the whole thing. And the Michigan football team off the national championship takes the stage with him. Yeah. Like he was in heaven for a little while.
Yeah.
Wearing that.
What was he wearing?
A disco ball shirt.
It seemed like it, right?
I have to give him crap for that one.
Yeah.
He was having a good time.
Yeah. Good guy.
I'm excited to see
Jalyx
Hunt. Yeah. I mean, it's tough. I haven't, be honest with you, have not grinded the Houston Christian tape. So like seeing him in person, I have a feeling like we'll know right away, like what they saw in him, right? Like to draft a kid from a program, like first player ever drafted from that school.
Not just in the first, in the top 3 rounds. The Eagles took Tony Hunt in the 3rd round. That didn't go well. That was the last guy named Hunt they took in the 3rd round.
Thanks.
I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah. We'll get Tony for some react on that.
That was 17 years ago. How is that possible? He's not even in the league anymore. Anyway, he's a guy I think is going to be fun to watch in camp. Yeah, one-on-ones.
Yeah. I don't know what to expect. That's the fun part about it. Like, he could like wow you, or you'd be like, oh man, he's not ready for this.
Yeah.
Because like Senior Bowl is one level of competition, but it's a big jump up to the NFL when you have guys who've been doing this for a long time.
All of a sudden you're getting reps against Lane Johnson.
I don't know how many Lane reps he's going to get, but I understand you.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So overall, like
it's a fun pick though.
It's a fun pick, and it was fun to watch them maneuver around the board the way they did. Like that's prototypical Howie ball. Now, did he get too cute? Maybe. I mean, maybe. Like they always frame it like we got our guy, we did it, we got our guy. But maybe Adisa Isaac was their guy.
Yeah.
And this is all like tiered.
And what number did he go?
He went right before them at 93 to the Ravens, which is such a Ravens pick.
Yeah.
But like there are other players here that we know better, so we're clearly biased with it.
I'd never heard of him. I'll be honest. When his name flashed on the screen,
well, I'd heard of him just because the Senior Bowl is such a big deal. But and how about the Senior Bowl for the Eagles, man? Like it's a great event. The Eagles put a ton of faith in it.
Yeah,
like year after year, they talk up, and not that they take players who went there, but they talk up the process. I mean, I remember I did a story talking to Jim Nagy, who's the director of the Senior Bowl last year, about Tyler Steen and about Sidney Brown. They learned, like, for Steen, it was getting to see him inside a little bit, getting to see him on both sides of the line. For Sidney, it was like, yeah, we need to see him in all the positions he might play. And this year with Quinyon Mitchell, they got to see him in some press man situations. He had been off ball so much. And then with Jalyx, obviously the competition level took a big jump and he was able to hold his own. So it's an event that they put a ton of stock into.
Yeah, no question about it. And I think what the Senior Bowl does well is understanding what prospects need to show. Like if you know a kid can do one thing, put him in other situations and see how he does at that.
Exactly. And it's like a great time for especially offensive linemen. Like, yeah, let's move. You're an offensive tackle? Yeah, you were an offensive tackle like Kentucky. We're going to move you into guard all of a sudden. Thinking,
yeah, you're 6'2.5". NFL tackle.
Exactly. All right, let's take a break. We'll talk about our chance to meet Quinyon Mitchell in person, and we'll look ahead to day 3 of the draft.
You deserve a car that thrills you, a car that puts goosebumps on your goosebumps. At Nissan, we got everything from turbocharged SUVs to 100% electric vehicles that'll make your heart beat faster. Experience the thrill for yourself and shop your local Nissan store at nissanusa.com today.
Celebrity cook Steve Martorano brings his Italian-American cooking back home to Philly. Enjoy Martorano's Prime at Rivers Casino and Steve's famous meatballs with Sunday gravy, prime steaks, and more. Make reservations at Martorano's Prime on Open Table. Quinyon Mitchell in town, flew in from Detroit, did not sleep much, as you'd imagine. He probably got about the same as we did, but for better reason. Obviously, he got drafted last night in the first round. It was good to see him in person.
Yeah, it was. And I think you're right. I think he was disappointed in where he went, but happy to be here. Yeah, it was good to see him. He was a little more chatty than yesterday.
Yeah, man, the Zoom calls right after a guy gets drafted, especially when they are at the draft, is really tough because they've just gone through all these interviews. Their head's spinning. Like they're like, I got to go to Philly tomorrow. Like, what's going on? And then here we are, like this in their face, asking about them falling into the 20s. Like it's not a fun experience. Today is fun. He gets to come in, he's a little more relaxed. He meets everyone. He's in the building, and then he gets to talk to us in a better setting. I think a lot of the same themes that we talked about. Him staying at Toledo. Amy Fadul had a chance to interview Candle. What's his first name?
Jim Candle.
Justin. Why can't I think of his name? Jason Candle. Man, that was escaping me. Yeah. Head coach of Toledo, who I've only mentioned his first name about 1,000 times over the last 24 hours. Even if you don't want a chance to talk to Campbell a little bit, it spoke so. He talked up, Quinyon.
You're burning the candle at both ends. That's why you couldn't think of his name.
Even that was so delayed. But he talked up what it says about Quinyon that he stayed at Toledo. He did take a little jab at Nick Saban, saying that tampering's been going on for a long time in college football, but I guess we're talking about it out in the open now. Saban's got nothing to lose. He's out of the game. But I think it does say a lot about Quinyon that he wanted to stay. That and he's talked about Toledo kind of stuck by him. And if you don't know the full story, I don't know if we talked about it.
I'm sure we
on
did,
the previous pod, but his grades weren't up to snuff coming out of high school. He had a gray shirt his first year, so Toledo still wanted him, and they worked with him. And so when things did turn around for him, and he's this high-profile player, he didn't want to leave.
Have you spent time in Toledo? Never
been.
I had a good friend in college who lived in Toledo, or technically Sylvania, next door town. I'm fascinated by this kid from this little town in Florida ending up in like northwestern Ohio.
Yeah,
I mean it's crazy. I asked him about that. Like, what do you remember about your first time arriving in Toledo? And he said, well, it was really hot.
Yeah, they took him in. So that's an old recruiting trick for cold weather schools. Is you bring them there, and Ann Arbor's beautiful, and in the summer, and let's go back in December and see what it's like.
Yeah, But it had to be a huge culture shock, and for him to embrace that town, that city so much. And I think that knowing Nick Sirianni, we've been around him now for a few years. I think that's something that really resonates with him. The loyalty that he showed to that program.
Sure. Well, especially because he showed that loyalty to his best friend.
Yeah, true. But I don't know if they're best friends, but yeah, his friend.
I mean, they lived together.
Best friends.
Yeah.
I've lived with guys who were like roommates who weren't my best friend. One of them I hated his guts.
They were teammates. They coached together. They lived together.
No, I point well taken. But I think it would have been true even if he didn't know Jason Candle or Jim Candle or any of the Candle.
Johnny Candle.
Johnny Candle.
That's a better name. Johnny Candle is like the front man of a band from the 90s.
Johnny Candle.
Johnny Candle and the Wicks.
And the Wicks. Yeah, I was just going to say that. Johnny Candle. Yeah. But I think that would have been the case with, even if he didn't know him. I just think that's the kind of thing that means a lot to Nick.
Yeah. And Quinyon also talked about that period in his life a little bit and how much it matured him and how much it taught him, like, just how much he didn't want to take anything for granted. He turned his grades around.
Yeah.
Like rededicated himself to football. I'm not saying he wasn't dedicated to football before, but I think any player who's lost the game for a while for whatever reason, I think when they come back, they have a new appreciation for it.
Certainly Latu talked about that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
A lot during the whole process.
A lot too.
That's terrible.
It's not great. But it was fun talking to him. He had a cool hat on. Did you notice that?
I didn't.
It was like a grayscale Eagles hat.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I don't notice things like hats. Just don't.
Okay. There were some fans there. Some season ticket holders gave him a round of applause.
Yes, they did.
Yeah. Then he does the photo op. He holds up the jersey.
Yeah.
Oh, the other thing from him, which has become a tradition for any new player coming to the Eagles, they get a text from Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Like right after it happens.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It is cool. I mean, it's a small thing, but he does it for everyone. Like every free agent we talk to, like, have you heard from any of your teammates? Jalen Hurts. Jalen texts me.
Yeah.
Welcome me. Congratulate me.
Yeah.
It's a little gesture that goes a long way from the guy who's the leader of the team.
Yeah. And these guys, like, I mean, it's funny to think about, like, Jalen's going into his 5th year. So these guys were like in high school when he started his career. They were probably in junior high school when he was at, Bama. And so they must really look up to him, and just from the way he plays, the way he carries himself, and everything that he, stands for. So yeah, you're a 5th round pick, you're coming in, you don't know anybody, and you get a text from Jalen Hurts. That's really cool.
It is cool. Like, you were in Toledo and all of a sudden Jalen Hurts is texting you.
Yeah. My friend who lived in Toledo or in Sylvania, their backyard butted up against Michigan. Like, so her backyard, there's a fence, and on the other side of the fence was a neighbor, and that neighbor lived in Michigan. And I told her dad, I was like, you should put up a sign like in your backyard saying entering Michigan.
I like that. I would do that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but it's there's some really nice parts of Toledo. I don't think I've ever been on a campus.
Okay. Well, we'll have to do that. Have to go to the bookstore and get some Rockets gear.
Yeah. Is that what they are? They're not the
I think they're
the Mud Hens. I guess the Mud Hens is the minor league team.
Yeah. They're the Rockets. Day 3 coming up on Saturday.
Yeah.
Howie Roseman talked a little bit after the end of day 2, and he's talked about this before, but the big meeting they have, and he said it's one of their favorite meetings.
The passion meeting
of the year, 10 a.m. before the round starts at noon. Everyone's involved, coaches. They have, I like this from Alex. Johnny Candle's a professional angler fisherman with 1,000 YouTube subscribers. Is that real, or are you saying that? Are you making that up?
Johnny Candle.
That's pretty cool. Well, shout out Johnny. Oh, he's real. Shout out Johnny Candle. hopefully go subscribe to Johnny Kendall's YouTube page, unless he's an awful person and I don't
Isn't
know
this
about
redundant? He's a professional angler fisherman. Wouldn't
I don't know.
they only need one of those words, right? Angler or
You're
fisherman.
going to be Alex's editor at 12:52 a.m. So they have the passion meeting. They bring in all the scouts, all the coaches, and it's kind of the last chance.
It's
like
at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning.
10 o'clock tomorrow morning. I don't think they're going to let us in, but I would love to be a fly on the wall there, because it basically Howie turns it over and says, hey, you're the scouts. You've put in the work. We have your scouting reports, but give me a name of a guy that you're going to put your name on. Like, you want your reputation on this player, and like, who are you passionate about? Who do you want to bang the table for, and want us to go draft? And that's a really cool thing.
Yeah.
It empowers the scouts, and it makes them feel like their voices are heard, which is a really important part of this process. You want to have cohesion there. So I think that's fun. And with how many picks they have in day 3, this year's passion meeting is going to be a fun one.
Yeah. And, it's funny because you think of these scouts, like a scout could devote an entire year to evaluating players. They don't take any of his guys.
Yeah. You feel like you just wasted a year.
And
I know how I feel.
I was going to make that.
When we write all these pre-written stories for draft picks, and
they all fall
you end up getting 2 of them. I don't get any.
Yeah, that's just the way it falls. But, I think Howie's become a good guy to work for. I think he listens. I think he really values the scouts. He'll come out tomorrow after the 7th round is over, and he'll talk to us, and he'll make a point to thank those guys. And we might roll our eyes. It's the same thing every year, but it means a lot to them.
Mm-hmm.
He's acknowledging them and he's appreciating them. It's not Howie doing all the work. I mean, he's not scout. I mean, he'll scout, he'll look at film and all that, but these guys are going on campuses.
They're doing the legwork, and sometimes the grunt work.
Yeah.
And it's like some teams I've even seen, like in these day 3 picks, they'll let the regional scout make the phone call, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
I love that. I think more teams should do that. Like, you're the guy who found him. Yeah, give him a call. Let him know we're drafting him because of him, but also the work you put into it.
Yeah, it's a really thankless job. I mean, it's not glamorous. They don't get paid that much. The travel is brutal.
Yeah.
You're eating at like Bob Evans every day.
Yeah, not a lot of options in Middle America sometimes when you're driving through.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe there's they sell Bob Evans.
Sure.
I get Bob Evans and Bob's Big Boy confused.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tomorrow they have picks in the 4th round, 3 4th rounders now.
Yeah.
120, 123, 132, 3 5th rounders, 152, 171, 172, and a 6th rounder, 210. So that's 7 picks.
I still don't have a 7. They're not going to make all those picks.
Yeah. Over under 4.5.
I think they're going to make 5 picks.
So you still take the over?
I'll take the over.
Okay. I was going to go 5.5. Is that number? And
I'll take the under.
Okay. So you're at 5 picks.
Yeah. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to make all those picks.
Yeah.
7's a lot. I think they're going to package some up. I think they really like what they did last year, and they got to the top of the 4th round, and they got Keely Ringo. I don't know if they'll get that high up there this year, but man, there are a lot of names out there that make sense early in the 4th round. Guys we thought might go in the 3rd. I have a few names in front of me.
And I just want Howie mentioned that the turnaround is quick. I mean, because they were. What time did we get out of the presser? About midnight.
About midnight, yeah.
Yeah, and it starts at noon tomorrow. Noon Saturday. So that's 12 hours. It sounds like a lot of time. And they were about to meet upstairs to start it, and then they'll come back in the office early morning and finish. But it's a quick turnaround. He said it's a challenge to be prepared and to get everything ready.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. What do you got?
Troy Franklin,
Oregon receiver.
Yeah. Trot.
I like that name.
Trot Jr. still out there. Malik Washington from Virginia, kind of a slot only, but a really, really fun player. Gabriel Murphy, edge from UCLA.
Yeah.
A lot of juice, really productive. His twin brother, Grayson, also available. I think Gabriel's going to end up going before him. Devontae Walker from UNC, just super speedster, if that's what they're looking for.
Receiver.
Receiver, yes. Christian Mahogany from Boston College, kind of a plug-and-play guard. You know, if you're not in love with the idea of Tyler Steen, you at least want to give him some competition. I think that makes sense. Theo Johnson, tight end from Penn State. I like him in day 3. I think he has, of the day 3 tight ends, I think he might have the most potential to eventually be like a starting caliber player. I don't know if he'll ever become that, but I think he has.
I like
that
player.
ceiling. Yeah, I think there are good players out here. Mekhi Wingo, the defensive tackle from LSU, still available. They had like a 3-man defensive tackle rotation. I think he's probably the best of that bunch.
He's kind of smallish, right?
They have a few different guys. Yeah. I mean, a lot of good players out there.
You have one name, like one guy that you would love to see him take.
I'll give you Malik Washington.
Okay.
From Virginia. And I don't know if that's their type. Like this offseason, they've I know Troy Franklin might be more of their type from like a body standpoint, because this offseason, yeah, like they've added all these guys on futures deals. And the one thing they all have in common is like monsters are huge. And I know Malik Washington does not fit that. He really is a smaller interior receiver, but I like him. I think he's got a lot of juice, and I think he would add a new dynamic to the offense.
Yeah. Troy Franklin was the guy I was going to say.
Mm-hmm.
And 6'2", 180. They need a weapon. I think they still need another weapon. Obviously, the 2 receivers that they just gave $60 million to are going to be the main targets. But, you need more than 2. And
PJ Tampa's still out there if you want another cornerback.
He is still out there. I don't think they're going to get 2 corners from the state of Iowa in the same draft.
Well, when you brought up 2002, Howie said, well,
he
3 defensive backs. So
yeah, he did
maybe a safety in the mix.
It's crazy. I mean, Howie's been with this organization since 2001 or 2000 as an intern.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't GM till 2010, but yeah, he was here when the Lito Sheldon draft was made.
Yeah, some good options out there.
Yeah.
Excited to watch how it plays out.
Yeah.
Should we wrap this up? It is now 1 a.m. as we finish this record. So let's tell the people, if you enjoy the podcast and you appreciate all the draft pods, please do us a favor, rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, please click the like button, subscribe there as well. Also, shout out Johnny Candle. Give our fisherman friend a like. I hope he wakes up tomorrow and he's like, all these new subscribers, where did they come from? They came from Eagle Eye. A punch drunk 1 a.m. version
Do you have
of Eagle Eye.
No, never mind.
Can we end this?
Yeah.
All right, thanks. We'll talk to you guys after day 3. This has been Eagle Eye presented by Nissan and Rube. Dave, we'll talk to you soon.